Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Daring Living. I am really excited to talk to you about today's episode, kind of like how I am with every single episode. And today, once again, it is a topic that a lot of people go through, and I think it's very, very important to talk about. It is the idea of moving past your fear and how to overcome your fear. I think a lot of us, we let fear, right? Something that feels so intangible and a lot of the time, most of the time is irrational. We let those fears stop us from actually going for our dreams. We let those fears stop us from following our heart's true desires because we are afraid. And for a lot of us, we don't even try our best because we are afraid that we're going to fail, or we're afraid that something bad is going to happen once I do it, once I have achieved it, right? And so that's like the fear of failure. And there's also the fear of success. So when we make decisions from fear, it's very, very hard for us to actually choose a path that we actually want to do because we're so consumed and we're so clouded by the irrational thoughts that are caused stemming from fear. And this is what a lot of my clients go through as well, because many of my clients are high achieving people. We love to reach our goals. We love to have things and outcomes and desires in our life that we are actively working towards. And every time when we are creating something new, right? Something that you haven't done before in your life, or something that you weren't used to and weren't that familiar with your life, then there is uncertainty about what's coming. And when there is uncertainty, then our brain kind of comes in and gives us a lot of fear and all of these irrational thoughts and these, irrational and fearful ways of thinking, so that we don't create change, so that we don't create the new things or choose the new things deliberately because we're so consumed by fear. And so let's really talk about that, because fear is an inevitable thing that you're for sure going to feel if you are on the path of really wanting to create amazing results and create different results and different set of outcomes that you want to have in your life, whether it's in your relationship, in your business, at work, with your health, right? Fear is going to be a part of it. If you want to make a move in your job or actually physically move to a different city, there's fear that comes with it. And so the first thing that I want to offer is, do not ignore the fear. A lot of us, because we are so not used to allowing ourselves to be with emotions, because we've learned growing up that emotions are not productive, we shouldn't feel them, it's pointless, it's not helpful to feel your feelings. And so whenever we have fear about an upcoming transition or something that might happen, when the fear comes up, and a lot of us, especially high achievers, we tend to push them away. We pretend they don't exist. We keep our head down, continue to push through and power through. And then eventually, what happens is that the fear is not addressed and that feeling is still there, right? Fear is an emotion that you feel in your body. And so when we don't address the feeling of fear and really allow yourself to process through that fear, then what happens is that that vibration, that energy gets stuck and still kind of accumulates and just kind of lingers there and still take part within you, whether it is physically in your nervous system, in your body, or emotionally as well, right? Maybe you just feel like something is just, it's kind of like at the back burner, and you just feel like there's something that's really there that's dragging you down. And so do not ignore the fear, because when we ignore it, it just accumulates over time. And then eventually there's like, we experience these outbreaks, or these, all of a sudden, these triggers, or we start making decisions unconsciously from fear, right? When fear is not brought out to the surface for us to look at and address, then subconsciously we think that our fear is just the truth. We think that the things that we are scared of is just going to happen. And then unconsciously we tend to make decisions because we are afraid. And instead, we don't make the decisions, and we don't move forward in a way that truly feels aligned with us, because they're all just coming from fear. Do you see? So do not ignore the fear. There's nothing wrong to feel fear. I would even say if you're afraid, that's a good thing. That means there's something that you're working towards. There is an aching in the heart that you want to move towards. There is something new, something different, something that is uncertain in your life. The next level that you are walking into in your relationship, in your life, in your business, at work. And so you will feel afraid. If you're never afraid, then that means, maybe life just feels complacent and you just feel, comfortable with where you are. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I just want to offer that if you're listening to this episode and if you're one of my listeners, then most of the time, like most likely, you are someone who wants to really break outside of your comfort zone to really achieve new levels in your life. And fear is going to be part of the every single process and every single transition that you are going to make in your life. So why not learn to make peace with it, right? Learn how you can move past these fears so that you can actually be able to make decisions and move forward in a more clear and more grounded way. So I have five ways to really help you move past your fear and overcome the fear that you are experiencing right now. Tip number one, the first thing that I will always offer to anyone and also to my clients as well, whenever anyone comes to our session and bring up that they are afraid, there is like a feeling there. They're afraid that something bad is going to happen if they, go back to school. They're afraid that they won't be able to achieve their goal. They're afraid to quit their job and go all into their business. There's a lot of fears that can come up. They're afraid of saying that, having that hard conversation with their partner, right? The first thing that I will always offer to people is that you want to get clear on the facts. Get clear on what the circumstance actually is right now. And when I say facts, what I mean is we want to look at everything of what actually is right now from a neutral and objective lens, right? From a neutral perspective, okay, what is actually happening? And if it's about numbers, if it's about money, or I don't know, get clear on the numbers of what it actually is, right? If you're afraid that you're not going to achieve your income goal this month, okay, where are you actually at right now? How much money have you actually made? And what are the numbers that's actually working right now, right? How many consults have you had so far? How many people have showed interest in wanting to work with you? Really understanding your numbers, because what fear does is it kind of puts us in an irrational place where we kind of forget about the facts of what is, because we're just so indulged and so overwhelmed in the fear, right? So first of all, get clear all the facts of what actually is happening right now. If you're afraid that so-and-so is going to judge you if you change your niche, who are you actually afraid of? And also, who are the people that are actually going to be here to support you, and how many are there that you feel like will actually be there to support you, right? Notice how we are really getting clear on what the facts and what the circumstance actually is, right? If you feel like saying this thing to your partner and your partner is going to be mad and your partner is going to leave you or reject you, my question for you is, did they actually say those words? Because a lot of the times we're just living in our head about the worst case scenario that's going to happen. And the truth is, we haven't even communicated that with our partner, or we haven't even communicated that with our parents, right? We're just expecting all the fearful things of what's going to happen, what they're going to say. And We want to get clear on the facts, like what exactly did they say, what the actual words that came out of their mouth, right? Because we can also be interpreting what they're thinking about when they're actually not thinking about that. Okay, so number one, get clear on the facts and on the circumstances. Get clear on what is. Okay, so if there is like a fear that you are having right now, I would recommend highly to take out a piece of paper and actually write down what are the facts right now, what is actually happening, what are the circumstances right now that we can actually look at from a very neutral perspective, right? And then tip number two, what we can also do is we can also look at the big picture. So that means really taking a step back, right? Similar like before, it's looking at things from a neutral perspective. And this time we are really broadening our perspective to look at things from a bigger picture. If you are afraid that you won't reach your goal, then like, especially if it's time related, what we want to do is we want to expand that timeline, right? Okay, how much, let's say if you're afraid that you won't reach your income goal this month, okay, how much have you made this year so far? What are the numbers? What are the facts that's actually here, right? And how much have you made last year or the year before? Also looking at those numbers as well. Okay, what's the increase every year, right? Figure out the ratio. And then let's figure out kind of like factually what just makes sense to the brain mathematically, what would be the expected income that you will make this year and this month. How much have you made at the same time last month, right? Notice how we're not talking about anything about fears or any of our thoughts and all this stuff. We're just looking at everything from a very neutral perspective, bringing all the numbers, all the data, all the facts, all the information, and just putting them all out onto the table for us to look at it in a very neutral way to gather all of the information, right? Let's say if you have the fear that something bad is gonna happen, or like let's say if you want to go all in on your business and you're afraid that your parents are going to be mad at you and that they're gonna disown you and not like reject you and be angry at you. That could be true. And when we look at things from a big picture, it's like, how might this decision that you make benefit the people around you in the long run? When we look at things from a bigger perspective, because a lot of things, the reason why you feel afraid and you still want to do it is because there's like a lot of times these decisions that we make, as we like, even when we feel the fear, we still do them anyway. Those decisions are most of the time very important decisions that is going to really, really impact your life. And that most of the time it's like something that you've always wanted to do, something that is you are feeling called to do, right? And it could be like having that conversation with your partner, but that after having that talk, you guys are going to be so much closer because of it. Right? So really look at things from a big picture. How might this decision right now benefit your loved ones in the long run? And how might this decision right now benefit you in the long run? If there's something that you are afraid of experiencing in the short term, how might this benefit you in the long run? Okay. So number one, get clear on the facts and the circumstances. Number two, look at things from the big picture. And number three, is you want to comfort and tend to that fearful part of you. And this means to really confront it head on, right? Talk to your fear. Whatever fear it is that you're experiencing right now, ask yourself, what part of you is afraid? And why is that part of you afraid? There has to be a reason. Of course, it makes so much sense why that part of you would be afraid. Because there's something here that still hasn't been addressed, that still hasn't been looked at. Right? Which part of you is afraid? Is it the part of you that is afraid of other people's judgment? Is it a part of you that is afraid that you're going to outshine the people around you and the people are going to start leaving you? Are you afraid of not reaching your goal and then not making enough money and then being broke and not being able to pay for your bills, right? What are the actual things that you're afraid of? And let's really bring that out to the table and ask yourself what part of you is afraid. And a lot of the times, this part of you, you can identify them to a lot of the times you can identify them with a certain experience that you've had in the past. So you can also ask yourself, how old is this part of you? Right? The part of you that is afraid other people are going to leave you if you outshine them. Okay, how old is this part of you? Oh, that's the part of me when I was 13 years old, talking in front of the class, and I have these friends turn on me because I won't give them the answers to a test. Or I feel like these people are making comments about me because they think I'm too good for them. Right? A lot of the times, these fearful parts of you can be related to an experience that you've experienced in childhood or a few years ago in the past, right? The part of you that is afraid of failure right now. How old is this part of you? Oh, this is the part of me that is living with my parents and I'm scared that I'm going to be scolded by them if I make a mistake. Oh, this is a part of me that is playing piano where my dad always tells me that I'm not good enough. Okay? And so really figure that out and really figure out what they are afraid of and allow yourself, like almost imagine yourself to walk up to this person and like give them a big hug. And just really letting them know that they're going to be okay. So because you're listening to my voice, you might not see me, but what I'm doing right now is I'm putting both palms over my chest, over my heart, right? Really comforting myself and really loving that part of myself. And so when you talk to your fear, when you talk to this part of you, I want you to put 2 hands over your heart, breathe into that part of you gently, comforting it, and really letting that part of you know that they're going to be okay and that you're not leaving them behind. A lot of the times, fear comes up also because you are changing so fast, that you are really becoming someone amazing and you are becoming more confident and you're changing. You're going through this phase of your life, and then all of a sudden, there's this part of you that's kind of like holding you back because they're like, no, don't forget about me. I don't want you to forget about me. Like, this is important, right? And so we want to go back to that part of you and let them know that they're going to be okay. We're not leaving you behind. I'm still going to be here. Like, I'll be here no matter what. And we're moving forward together. You're going to be okay. Okay. This is a very, very important work. Even before thinking about what's next, there are things that are holding us back in this present moment. Most of the time, fear coming up. And so we have to address that part of us so that we can actually feel more grounded and feel more clear to move forward. Okay? So recap, the first thing you do is get clear on the facts and the numbers and the circumstances of what is. Number 2, what you do is you look at the things from a bigger picture. Number 3, you tend to that wounded part of you. Talk to your fear, right? Make love and really comfort with that part of you. Okay. Number 4, what you do is see what we can do to kind of like help you make peace with that fear. And a lot of the times, what I love to tell people is, okay, let's really go there, right? The things that you're truly, truly afraid of, let's really go there. What if that does happen? Right? If you really don't make the money, if your partner really leaves you, if your mom really gets angry at you, if you really end up broke, If you like, if your friends really can't relate with you anymore, if your people can't relate with you anymore, if that does happen, what will you do? Actually, even before what will you do, it's more like, if that does happen, okay, let's just sit with that. Like, let's really go there and see how that feels, right? And what you will realize is a lot of the times what we are the most afraid of, when we actually bring it to light, kind of like shine a spotlight, a flashlight on it, is not as scary as we think it actually is. But then when it's not addressed, then that fear just lingers, and then it becomes bigger and bigger, right? That's when, and then we all of a sudden we think it's something so terrible. And when we really look at it, it's like, okay, if that does happen, okay, let's just be in the reality and just entertain with that idea for a moment. Okay, it's gonna happen, and it does happen. Okay, and after you feel a little bit more comfortable and feel more safe in that place, like if it does happen, okay, I'm still here. If it does happen, I'm still gonna be okay. I'll still be here, right? What I tell people a lot is that a lot of people, they are afraid of not being able to reach their income goal or make enough money. And I say, okay, if it does happen, let's really go there. Then what happens? And some of them might be like, okay, if that does happen, I might end up have to tap into my savings. I might end up have to go get a part-time job. I'm like, yeah, the worst that can happen is you're going to do that, right? At the end of the day, if that does happen, you still have a rooftop over your head. You still have access to internet. You still have food at the table. You can still pay your bills, right? Those are the things that we want to make sure that you actually have. If you don't, okay, then like I wouldn't suggest you actually going for it, right? And a lot of the times, like what we're afraid of, when we really go back, it goes down to the most survival instincts, the most survival things that we are afraid of. And you can really tell yourself that you're still gonna, like when you really face and see and sit with the things that you're the most afraid of, you'll realize that you're still okay. Like you're still alive, you're not gonna die, you're still breathing, everything's gonna be fine, right? Like putting that post on social media, the worst thing that's gonna happen is you're going to feel something that maybe you're going to feel the vulnerability of it. You're going to feel uncomfortable, and then you're not going to die, right? And so this is what we want to help you to eventually make peace with, to really go there, be with the worst thing that's going to happen, and then figure out, okay, if that does happen, then what you're going to do. And what's very interesting is there's so many, like when I really take clients to really, really go there, really take people to really go there to that very worst thing that's going to happen, what they're going to realize, first of all, is a lot of the times it's not as scary as they think it is. And second of all, people start coming up with so many amazing and creative ways to overcome the worst thing that's going to happen. Oh, I'm going to go borrow money from someone. Oh, I'm going to tap into my savings. Oh, if that does happen, then I'll probably cry for a few days and I know that eventually I'll get back up. Right? I remember when it was like the first year or the second year of my business, I decided to move out. I used to live with my sister and I decided to move out to live on my own. And at that time, my business is just starting to get more stable. And then I was having so much fear. Like, what if I move out and I don't make the income? What if I move out and then my business fails? Like, what if something happens? Like, there's so much fear that I had. And then when I really go back to worst case scenario is, okay, actually, the worst thing that's going to happen is probably going to move back. I'll just move back home. I'll move back. And it's also not about moving back, because the worst thing that I'm afraid of is that I'm going to feel an emotion in my body. I'm going to feel ashamed. I'm going to feel shame. I'm going to feel like a failure. And then that's when I really ask myself, okay, so even if it does happen, can I be okay with the feeling of feeling like a failure? Can I be okay with shame? And I realized that, yeah, I am probably gonna, it's probably gonna feel pretty bad. I'm probably gonna wallow and be in self-pity and just like, live in a dark hole for a while. And eventually I know that I'll get out of it. Eventually I know that I'll come back and continue with what I've been doing. And then if it doesn't work out, then I'll move back home. And that's the worst thing that will ever happen to me. And when I made peace with that, all of a sudden it's like, okay, my body can relax now. Okay, I know that even if it does happen, and by the way, most of the time, it really doesn't. Like the worst case that's gonna happen most of the time is because we're so targeted. We just look at only the worst thing that's gonna happen, right? And then when we can actually make peace with that, then we just feel so much more comfort from that place. And actually that's very funny because eventually I did still move back home with my family. And when I moved back, it was not like I did not feel a sense of failure or anything at all. It was just completely coming from a different place of growth, of realization. Like moving back home no longer was the thing that held me back. I no longer saw that as a failure. I saw it as a sign to go to the next level for growth, right? And so if you can make peace with what you're the most afraid of, there's so much learning that you can get coming out of it. And you become a very creative problem solver as well, knowing what you can do, right? And a lot of the times the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to feel an emotion in your body, and probably that emotion is not going to be something that you are comfortable with feeling. And can you be okay with allowing yourself to feel that, right? Maybe you're going to feel shame. Maybe you're going to feel rejected. Maybe you're going to feel vulnerable. Maybe you're going to feel afraid if you do it, right? Maybe you're going to feel like a failure if you do it. And then can you be okay with that feeling that exists in your body? Because most of the time, that's the worst case scenario that's going to happen. All right. So the last suggestion that I'd like to offer for you is this is the very last thing you do, right? So first, you get clear on the facts and the numbers. Second, you look at things from a bigger picture and really take a step back. Number 3, you tend to that wounded, fearful parts of you and really talk to your fear. Number 4, you make peace with that fear. If it does happen, what will you do? And can you be okay with that, right? And number 5 is this is the last thing that you do is you start inviting in other alternatives into your realm of possibility. So, like I said before, when we are afraid, we are most of the time focusing on 1 or 2 things that we are super, super afraid of. And so our focus becomes so targeted, right? If you think about when we are afraid of something that hasn't happened yet. And so that means in our full realm, full spectrum of possibility, there can be the best thing that's ever gonna happen out of this decision. There can be the worst possible scenario that might happen, right? And there's like all of these possibilities that's in between the spectrum. And when we are afraid, we are making decisions from the worst case scenario. We are being guided from the worst case scenario, and we miss our chance and we miss our eyes to look at all the other possibilities and alternatives that might also exist as an outcome, right? And so we want to really look at things from a very, very great scale, right? If you do go for it, what will be the potential things that could also happen? It could be that maybe you say what you want to say to your partner and your partner is okay with it, right? Or your partner doesn't see it as a big deal. It could be that you will go all in your business and your business blows up in 6 months, in a year. It could be the most amazing things that can happen, right? It could be that because you decide to move to a different country, you made new friends, you started dating again, you meet the love of your life. Maybe because you decided to move to a different place, you establish new connections, and then you meet new friends, and then you create new opportunities that led you to another turning point in your life, right? all of these other possibilities can also happen all at once in the realm of infinite possibilities that is in your future. All of these things could also happen. And we also want to start exploring these ideas and really are letting our mind and our body be open to all of these things that could also happen. That just might not be that only thing that you are the most afraid of. Right? So, and this is when you will truly feel like, oh, okay, it's not as scary as what I think it is. Okay. So this is something that is very important. So really think about how can you take yourself through these steps to work through your fear and overcome your fear, not ignore your fear. That's different, right? Not pretending it's not there. We're not being fearless here. We're just allowing yourself to know how to comfort and move through your fear, because that's actually very, very important. And then from this place of comfort, from this place of feeling more at peace and feeling more open, then you will be more clear about what it is that you actually want to do. You will be more clear about your next step. I can guarantee you that. But when fear is there, it's very hard to make that clear decision. Okay. I hope that this has been helpful for you. Journal on this and have an amazing week, everybody. I will talk to you next week. Bye.